Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and realizing that absolutely nothing has changed. Your salary is exactly the same as it was yesterday. Your house hasn't grown an extra square foot and your bank account balance hasn't moved a single cent. Yet, for some reason, you suddenly feel wealthy. You don't feel that familiar, heavy pressure in your chest when you look at your bills. The constant, nagging itch to buy something new has simply vanished. You haven't won the lottery, you didn't get a surprise promotion, and no long-lost relative left you a fortune. You've just discovered a secret that has quietly shaped generations in Japan, a way of seeing the world that explains why a person earning $50,000 a year can feel like a king, while someone earning $500,000 feels like they're drowning. We've been told that wealth is a number, but what if the number is actually the least important part of the equation? What if the real reason you feel poor has nothing to do with how much you have, and everything to do with a race you never even realized you joined? Meet Ren. Ren is 34 years old, and on paper, he's doing everything right. He has a degree, a professional job in the city, and a salary of $80,000. To his parents, he's a success. To his friends, he's the guy who always knows the best new restaurants. But every Tuesday night, Ren sits at his kitchen table with a warped laminate countertop, his laptop screen glowing in the dark, staring at a spreadsheet that makes his stomach turn. He makes over $6,000 a month before taxes, but after the rent on his trendy apartment, the payment on his German-engineered SUV, the subscriptions he forgot he had, and the everything else category that seems to swallow his life whole, he's left with exactly $214. He's been going backward for 2 years, spending more than he earns just to maintain the image of someone who is making it. He's living in a world where the finish line for enough keeps moving every time he gets close to it. He buys a new phone because his coworkers did. He upgrades his wardrobe because he thinks visibility is the same thing as value. He's performing wealth, but inside he's terrified. One weekend, Ren travels back to the small town where his grandfather lives. His grandfather, a man who survived lean years after the war, lives in a house that hasn't changed in 4 decades. He doesn't own a luxury car. His watch is a simple, battered piece of steel that costs less than one of Ren's dinners out. As they sit together, Ren notices a ceramic bowl on the table. It's old and has a jagged crack running down the side, but the crack has been filled with bright, shimmering gold. His grandfather catches him staring and tells him this is the art of kintsugi, a physical manifestation of a philosophy called Wabi-Sabi. In the West, we're taught that if something is broken or imperfect, it's worthless. We're taught to hide the cracks and replace the old with the new. But Wabi-Sabi teaches the opposite. It's the appreciation of simplicity, of imperfection, and most importantly, of enoughness. The gold doesn't hide the crack, it celebrates it. It says that the object is more beautiful because it has a history, because it isn't trying to be perfect. His grandfather looks at Ren's exhausted eyes and says something that changes the architecture of Ren's mind. Enough is a moving target unless you decide where it stops. Ren realizes that he has been letting the world decide where his target is. He's been measuring his life using other people's scoreboards. He thinks about his friend Marcus, who just bought a brand new black sedan. It looks expensive, but Ren knows the math. He knows the interest rates, the 72-month loan, and the way that car is quietly strangling Marcus's freedom. Ren has been doing the same thing, just on a different scale. He's been buying things not to solve problems, but to solve insecurities. And he realizes with a cold clarity that insecurities are the most expensive things you can ever try to own. They are a bottomless pit that no amount of money can ever fill. There is another word his grandfather uses, Mottainai. It doesn't just mean, don't waste food. It's a deep sense of regret when a resource, whether it's an object, time, or a human soul, is not used to its full potential. When Ren looks at his life through the lens of Mottainai, his habits look different. Buying a designer shirt just to impress a waiter he'll never see again. Mottainai, working 80 hours a week at a job he hates to pay for a lifestyle he's too tired to enjoy. Mottainai, spending years comparing himself to people on a screen who aren't even thinking about him. That is the ultimate waste. He starts to see that wealth isn't the number in his account, it's the distance between what he has and what he thinks he needs. If you can shrink the need, the wealth appears instantly, without you having to earn another cent. Ren goes back to the city, but he doesn't go back to his old life. He stops playing the games he knows he can't win. He sells the German SUV and buys a 5-year-old Japanese hatchback with a small crack in the bumper. It's reliable, it starts every morning, and it draws exactly 0 attention. To his friends, it looks like he's struggling. They smile politely and turn toward someone else at parties. But Ren doesn't care because that small, quiet dismissal is his new armor. When people underestimate you, they stop watching you. And when they stop watching you, you are finally free to do whatever you want. He starts taking that everything else, money, and putting it into a simple, boring index fund. He doesn't check it every day. He treats it like a foundation being poured. It needs time to cure. Months pass and the shift becomes internal. He's standing in a store looking at two coffee makers. One is $40, the other is $120. The old Ren would have grabbed the cheap one without thinking or the most expensive one just to feel successful. But the new Ren does the math. He uses this every day. The better one has a 5-year warranty and a thermal carafe. It's a better tool for his life. He buys the expensive one, not for the status, but for the utility. He's no longer making decisions for the next 30 days. He's thinking in years. This shift in wiring is invisible and unsexy, but it's worth more than any stock tip. He's moving away from the performance of wealth and toward the architecture of it. He's building assets that solve unglamorous problems, things like parking lots or laundromats, the Tuesday morning markets that keep running while everyone else is chasing the next big tech disruption. Then the real test comes. His mother calls on a Sunday evening. She sounds hesitant, her voice tight with a shame she shouldn't feel. The roof on her house has been leaking, and the repair is $6,000. She doesn't know what to do. 5 years ago, this call would have sent Ren into a spiral. He would have had to put it on a credit card, felt the weight of the debt for months, and resented the situation even as he helped. But this time, Ren doesn't hesitate. He doesn't even have to check his balance. He tells her, "I'll take care of it." He hangs up and realizes that this is what the money was for. It wasn't for the t-shirts or the watches or the image. It was for the ability to show up for the people he loves without it costing him his own stability. It was for the freedom to say yes when it actually mattered. Ren still lives in an ordinary apartment. He still drives the car with the cracked bumper. If you saw him on the street, you wouldn't give him a second look. But inside his pocket, his phone holds a summary of a portfolio that has quietly crossed into the hundreds of thousands. He is becoming a silent millionaire. He watches people at networking events performing their wealth, wearing shirts that cost more than his monthly grocery bill, and he feels a strange sense of peace. He knows that visibility is expensive. The moment people know what you have, they stop relating to you and start relating to your money. Conversations shift, requests appear, and the temperature of the room changes. By staying ordinary on purpose, Ren protects the most valuable thing he owns, his time and his peace of mind. The Japanese secret isn't about being cheap or denying yourself pleasure. It's about realizing that the richest generation in history is often the most miserable because we've forgotten how to define enough. We are like the person who somehow finds themselves with $1 trillion, only to realize they can't actually spend it fast enough to fix the world's real problems, because the world's problems aren't a shortage of money. They're a shortage of functional systems and stable foundations. You can't buy sovereignty, and you can't buy a life that feels meaningful if you haven't built the architecture to support it. As Ren walks home from the train station, the city glows with the lights of 1 million people who are still running, still chasing, still comparing. They are caught in a loop of work, pay, survive, and repeat. They think they are one promotion away from finally feeling secure, not realizing that the hunger is the engine, and the engine will never stop unless they turn it off. Ren isn't running anymore. He isn't rich because he has more than everyone else. He's rich because he finally decided where the target stops. He has found the wealth of enough, and in a world that profits from making you feel incomplete, that is the rarest form of fortune there is. He realizes that the feeling of wealth was never about the zeros in the email from his accountant. It was about the quiet satisfaction of a system running exactly the way he built it to run. The car doesn't need to be fancy, the clothes don't need to be designer, and the world doesn't need to know his name. He has the gold in the cracks of his life, and for the first time he isn't just surviving. He is finally truly home.